Now, he's the great-grandson of the author Lord of the Rings, but Roy Tolkien has spent the past few years completing an epic quest of his own. He's been bungee jumping,
all in there.
dressing up as Gandalf on a plane, all sorts of weird and wonderful things, and this has all been in the name of fulfilling his late brother Mike's bucket list.
That documentary is called There's a Hole in My Bucket. It's out later this year. And also, Roy Tolkien has a book of the same title, A Journey of Two Brothers. And even watching what we saw there, Roy, it's a lot for you, because I think people will try...
I was throwing a tissue.
To say, is this an adventure? Is this a fun? Is this one of these epic journeys? How would you describe what you had to do here?
It was a really emotional journey, and it brings it back when I watched that VT then. Some of the things were very emotional, but also some of them very funny and very scary as well. So it was a whole mix, but it was 3.5 months in New Zealand filming, pretty much being terrified the whole time.
Your brother left you this list to fulfil.
Yes.
Did he not like you? Did you not get on well together? Or
thanks, Mike.
tell us about Mike. He sounds like a real sort of guy.
Yeah, he was a great brother to have. He was fun, adventurous, massive adrenaline junkie.
Your younger brother?
My younger brother. I mean, I think normally you look up to your older brother or sister, but I always looked up to him despite being a younger brother. So, yeah, and he had a wicked sense of humour as well. So this bucket list was not just about the things that he wanted to do, but knowing that he couldn't do them, he left me this bucket list to do on his behalf.
Because I mean, we're going to see some and hear some very funny stories. I mean, they are very funny, the things he got you doing. But this was all to raise awareness for motor neurone disease. So there's a very serious message behind this. When was he diagnosed?
His diagnosis was in 2012, and it was finding out about it was just, I mean, awful. We didn't know what motor neurone disease was. It's quite a rare condition, and when he told us, we had to Google it. We didn't know.
And how old was he then, Roy?
Well, he passed away when he was 39, so he was early 30s, which is also quite rare in the condition. But yeah, we had no idea what was coming, and so we did that thing where you kind of Google and find out what's going to happen, and yeah, it was it's pretty horrible. Yeah.
But even at Mike's funeral, the challenges began. Just explain to us what we're going to see now.
Yeah, so the bucket list existed. He wrote it. I didn't know what the contents were, and a couple of days before his funeral, his partner, Laura, handed me a note, and it was #1 on the list. And are you going to run a clip, are you?
We're going to run We're going to run a clip, OK, and you can explain. Here we go.
So his first challenge was to trip over.
This was at his funeral service.
Yep.
And what did he ask you to do?
It was trip over at the most awkward and embarrassing moment during his funeral service. But what was brilliant as well is he knew the room would be filled with emotion, that everyone would be finding it really hard to deal with. And so by doing this, it would break the ice, but also kind of stitching me up. No way to get him back.
No.
You know?
But also, I was talking to you before we came on today. I said, thinking about being at that funeral, if that happened, I'm sure everybody was mortified for you, because nobody knew it was a challenge or a joke.
Yeah.
And did everyone look away and start fumbling in their handbags?
When I stood up, and actually I tripped over a bit too hard and genuinely banged my head into the pulpit. I stood up and I looked out across the people that were there, and it was full, it was rammed. No one was looking at me. There was people kind of, like, shifting awkwardly. I had to tell my dad and my son, Story, his name is, I had to tell them what was going to go on, because they would have been straight up there.
To help you.
Bless Mary, the lady who was running the service.
Yes.
She came up and tried to help me up, and I
So that's just one of the many challenges he set for you. What was the most challenging or the most frightening? Because you said he was an adrenaline junkie, you're not.
Yeah, I was scared of pretty much everything. So he got me to do all the different bungee jumps there were. I had to... Big fear of spiders, had to hold a tarantula in my hand and have that crawl across my hand.
Oh, bungee jumping. In a tutu, I see.
Yeah, I mean, there was things it made me do which wasn't just simply bungee jumping. It was to put a tutu on and hold a fairy wand. Yeah.
Did that reduce the fright in any way by doing that? No.
No. No. None of this has cured me. And I don't want to do any of it again.
If you go to your Twitter site on social media, you will see a picture of you and Sir Ian McKellen there as well. Tell us the story about that and tell us about one of these challenges which Ian McKellen played a part in.
Yeah, bizarre. I mean, this doesn't happen ever, but Ian McKellen popped round to my house because he was doing his tour of the UK, small regional theatres, and he came to my local theatre and I invited him around for a cup of tea. I met him previously. But yeah, the challenge, the first challenge en route to New Zealand was dressing up as Gandalf and on a flight to Air New Zealand dressed as Gandalf, and I had to stand by the entrance of the plane and shout, "You shall not pass."
But let's remind people, you don't know these challenges until literally minutes before you've got to do them.
Sometimes right before I was doing it. So for that particular challenge, I was just going to check in, and I wondered why we were going to a quieter part of the airport, and I was delivered this task. And I thought it was brilliant, actually, but funnily enough, sat on the plane, sat on the plane, the amount of people that walked past and said, "Oh, Dumbledore." I'm like, I'm flying to New Zealand dressed as a wizard. I'm not going to be Dumbledore.
And that was the actual costume that Sir Ian wore?
It was, yes, yeah. Peter Jackson beautifully sent it over for me to wear, so it was everything. It was a staff, hat, wig, yeah.
Now, what has it been like throughout your life to have the mantle of a Tolkien on your shoulders, to be the great grandson of this man?
It's a very lucky position to be in, but it's very normal. We don't have an unusual life, but what it has afforded me is the ability to, in this particular instance, promote this book and this documentary to help raise awareness for motor neuron disease and to use it in the right way. And that's an instruction Mike gave me was, one, was you make films, make a film of this, and two, if you're ever going to use the name, use it for this and use it for this
What
cause.
about when you were young and at school and in your English literature class or whatever it is? It must have come up with teachers and things.
Yeah, I was told to stand up in the first day of English class in high school and introduced as the great-grandson, and we're going to be reading The Hobbit this year. And I just thought, what?
Wow.
Who?
Was that when it kind of dawned on you how famous your great-grandfather was?
You know, I was aware of Tolkien and his works, but really there was no internet back then, so I didn't know how big it was. Yeah. I say back then. Yeah. I'm only 20.
Well, you know, we're very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
We have to say that because, you know, it's very funny and the challenges are very funny. Your brother obviously had a wicked sense of humour, but you haven't completed the challenge yet, have you?
No, I haven't. There was 50 on the list, and the last one was to spread his ashes in Machu Picchu. And I got there, and I was on my own, and I didn't want it to end. So I thought I would hold back and at some point make a visit there in the future with his best friend or his son Eden or our nephews and nieces or our sister, and we just thought I'd make it more of an occasion for it.
And what do you think Mike would make of watching you challenge yourself like this?
Yeah, if he was now able to speak to me, he'd say, "Suck your belly in and watch your double chin." Honestly, we'd do that all the time. He would be saying that. He'd say, "You look like an idiot." I'm wearing his T-shirt.
Are you?
He wore it better than me. You know, it's... Yeah. It would be constantly a little bit of a rib here and there.
Well, look, this has been about you. It's been about your great-grandfather, but most of all, it's been about your your late brother, Mike, and the crusade to research and find a cure for this hideous disease, this motor neurone disease. Royd, lovely, a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much indeed. The film, we'll say, will be out, the documentary, There's a Hole in My Bucket, will be out later this year. And there's Royd's book, A Journey of Two Brothers, There's a Hole in My Bucket, which makes me want to say, Dear Liza, Dear Liza. But it's nothing to do with that song, you don't think?
Nah.
Roy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.